How to spend $1 billion entirely on yourself. This is an activity whose purpose is to be satisfying. Kathy Madden, a teacher of Alexander's Discoveries, says when you pursue a goal or an end that you don't actually want, you go out of coordination, something like that. And the corollary is when you pursue an end that you really do desire, then you can be in better coordination. And although money isn't the answer to all desire, it's a clarifying factor. And so if you don't have $1 billion surplus to spend on yourself at this moment, that doesn't make it a less useful thing to focus on. It's just what direction are you going in? And there's no hurry about it. Suppose it took you 4,000 years to amass the $1 billion and then spend it. That wouldn't be a problem. It's just about what direction am I going in. So, and then again, my job is to help you take the most coordinated path to your goal, or to help you to take a more coordinated path to your goal. Now, I just said that if you choose a goal that you really love, then your coordination will automatically be more perfected. And that's true. However, there's always more to clarify, to have a clearer conception, clearer of distractions, clearer of assumptions, clearer of mistaken beliefs, let's say, or learned inaccuracies, so that we kind of come at things from both sides, so that making the ends more satisfactory and more true to what one really wants, and then making the means whereby more true to the ends and less distracted from that. So a very, very big end to spend $1 billion on yourself. You might say it's absurdly big, and there's an invitation to something that's a big distraction in everything, which is end gaining, rushing to get to the end, or micromanaging the way they're forcing oneself toward the future. And this is not only on a conscious level, it's almost a body reaction that happens before there's even mental awareness that the body reaction is happening in most cases. So, I'm considering spending $1 billion on myself. What am I noticing about myself? And several things came to mind. I was holding a tiny bit of extra tension in my eyes and my jaw and my legs, and holding my feet up off of the ground a little bit. And Again, a little extra doing in my jaw, in my upper back. And I'm not trying to do something about these excess tensions. I'm just harnessing the power of my laziness, basically, um, focusing mostly just on being aware. I notice the room looks a little different to me now that I've given myself that bit of time to observe those sensations. I'm tensing in my right ankle again. I'm having the thought, well, I'm not really heading towards spending $1 billion. That's never going to happen. And then I'm answering that with, well, I don't really know for a fact. And other thoughts about, well, who am I to have that if somebody else doesn't, and arrogance and blah, blah, blah. And answering that, well, we can all imagine spending it, maybe not accurately, but we can all attempt to imagine spending $1 billion. That's something that anyone can do, whatever amount they have. I notice I'm doing just a little bit extra in my butt, my gluteal muscles. And my lower back. I have my head just a little forward of where it needs to be, not and pulled back. Neck forward and head back. And reverse. What is easier is neck free and head allowed to move a bit forward and up. And I need a little break. I'm going to take a little walk around my room. Another observation that I think is of value here, when we consider a really large goal, we're likely to try harder and tense up more in response to it than when we're considering a very small goal. Like my goal is to stand up from this chair. That's a small goal. So that's a kind of a superstition. It's one of those kinesthetic illusions that Alexander discovered discovered were illusions, and discovered that we could free ourselves from. Just because it's $1 billion instead of $10 doesn't mean that making more of a physical effort is going to make it more done. That's not going to make me more productive toward the goal. There's value in allowing it to take the amount of time that it takes, to giving it the sense of spaciousness that it needs. And I notice at that thought, I'm allowing myself to do a little extra work on my shoulders, my ribs. and I can allow the world to appear bigger to me. In the last learning session that I received, I was really struck by how large the world looked. It felt raw. It felt emotionally a little uncomfortable. I felt emotionally vulnerable if I allow myself to see the world as being so large and sort of close to me. It sort of seems like it touches a nerve. To some extent, it's a positive feeling, and then there's also a bit of scary quality to that. But there's no actual danger there, and it really is satisfying and pleasant. And I love the idea of allowing that to be my experience of the world more of the time. But even in thinking about allowing that to be my experience more of the time, I was starting to hold extra in my right ankle. So I'm just putting all of that into the "Isn't That Interesting" folder. So I spend $1 billion one moment at a time, just the same way as I spend $10 or stand up from a chair. And I can be allowing the world to look big and beautiful at any moment along the way of that journey. A long journey, a big journey, doesn't have to be hurried any more than a short journey. It's another way of saying it. And incidentally, one of the main things that I wanted to have my money serve was a changed quality of body language in the people around me, in who I was being immersed in a sense, language immersion, body language immersion, so that I would change how I moved. Being a social creature, being an imitator of those around me, I wanted to surround myself with people who moved with really, really good feeling movement and ease, and having a lot of reinforcement for encouragement, for reminders of that possibility. That's what I wanted that $1 billion for, so it actually folds back into the means whereby, once again, and the ends themselves can be about serving a more satisfying means. There's more complexities that brings up, but I'm not going to get into them right now. The key is allowing there to be a balancing of ends and beams. I can do even a little less in my shoulders, and the back of my neck, my legs. So thanks for allowing me to try and teach something about how Alexandra's discoveries inform the activity of spending $1 billion on yourself. And I welcome comments and sharing of experiences.